Hello and welcome back to my review of the Perfect Grade Wing Zero Custom EW. In this part, we'll take a look at the parts and weapons. So the chest and waist are going to be one unit. There's a lot of die-cast metal here, so it's actually quite hefty. I really like the clear green search eye. I opted not to install the LEDs, but it's still quite bright. This is going to be a clear green piece over a chrome silver dome. The red piece here is actually going to be a rubbery material, which should help with the movement. Speaking of movement, it can arch back and forth pretty well, and a tiny bit of side-to-side movement. There's going to be absolutely no rotation here at the waist though. For the gimmicks, these two parts can lift up to reveal machine guns, and this part here can slide down to reveal a tiny hero Yui. For the waist, the side and front skirts can flip up individually. The back skirts can't really move. In fact, it's going to be the entire back that's going to move up, like so. And this gives you a pretty good look at the inner frame of the waist. It's basically going to be all metal, even the leg attachments here, which should make it quite sturdy. The shoulders feel weirdly oversized. Here's the small attachment point, and these two fins here can move individually. The arm here can rotate 360 degrees at the shoulder, and as you can see in the neutral position, you'll get some crow pistons showing through on the joint part. And for the arm bend, you're going to get a nice 130 degree arm bend. The bend also exposes some nice chrome pistons here on the back. The forearm goblet is going to look pretty nice. It's just going to be a big blue piece with a clear green camera and a red fin. The wrist is going to have a good range of movement. You have the actual wrist joint giving a good bend, as well as the palm here, which allows the hand to bend in a little. The hands are going to be the standard PG style, individually articulated fingers, with holes in the palm to peg onto the weapons. The first thing you might notice about the leg is the huge knee armor here. Other than that, the leg is pretty sparsely detailed. There is going to be a huge piece of die-cast metal here for the joint, so it's all pretty stable. You can see a bit of the die-cast metal poking out through here. This white piece is on a spring for the bending mechanism, but if you pull it down, you can see more of the die-cast metal. For the bend, you're going to get a nice 180 degree bend. The thigh armor here splits very nicely, exposing some chrome at the bottom. The knee armor is also going to slide up a tiny bit. However, I don't like how the knee armor is hollow inside. It's also quite visible from the top and seems a bit cheap on a perfect grade. Down to the feet, the ankle armor here can wiggle around ever so slightly. The side ankle armors are a bit weird though. Usually there's going to be some gray vent details in there, but here it's going to be completely hollow. The ankles have a good range of movement back and forth, as well as side to side, but the side to side movement is a bit stiff. Onto the feet, the toes can point up like so, and they can also point down for the aerial pose and expose a nice chrome piston. So the head is a bit disappointing. It does have a LED gimmick, but again, I didn't install it. The face vents here are hollow weirdly enough. It feels like they really cheaped out on the details on this kit. The white face mask also seems a tad bit too long. I'm usually a big fan of PG heads, but I can't find too many positive things to say about this one. So onto the backpack, it's going to be screwed onto the chest, so the connection is quite secure. For the main binders, you can move them like so, as well as forward, provided the shoulder and the arm are getting in the way. This connection up here is a very tight joint. It's going to have a locking mechanism where as you turn it, it's going to be clicking into place. It is very, very difficult to move though. That being said, you do get 90 degrees of movement from here all the way up here. So here are the sub wings. They are absolutely massive. The binder here can store a beam saber, though it just kind of sits in there, no locking mechanism or anything. This joint here can rotate 180 degrees. It doesn't have a locking mechanism, but it's still very, very tight. The whole wing can also swing up like so. And once you do that, you can pull down on this piece, and these extra feathers will kind of spring out. It is on a spring mechanism, but I find that it doesn't always want to spring on demand, though it does look very nice. And here are the main wings. I have to say, I'm kind of disappointed. The main wing is basically two giant parts sandwiching a polycap. This whole area here is actually just one singular massive piece. Here on the underside, you can see the second piece. It's going to be the spine here that all the feathers are going to attach to. And here is the polycap that's in charge of holding this and attaching it onto the binders. Now the feathers are going to be a rubbery material with a metal core, so the tips are quite flexible, but the main body is rather rigid. They're going to be attached onto the spine part with this white piece, and it's going to be via a screw. You can kind of see it there. And this means that each individual feather does get a good amount of rotation. So overall, I don't think they look terrible, but it is kind of puzzling that so much of the whole wing's weight budget was given to the feathers, since the screws are metal and they are quite heavy. Here are the beam sabers. There are 2 pegs that can pull out to peg into the palm of the hand. It's interesting to note that they are in different positions. Here is a bit of trigger of sorts, which should also help the beam saber fit into the hand. And of course, it comes with a very long, very massive, clear green beam effect part. The twin buster rifles are impressively large. Here I have them split up. They're going to be molded entirely in this gray inner frame color, except for the green camera piece over here. But as you can see, there's lots of nice detail. I really like how they have a molded 0 here. Pretty interesting. And of course, on the handles, there's going to be a peg that you can pull out to peg onto the hand, and the handles can fold in. To combine them, you're going to want to fold down this piece, as well as tab out this piece back here. You also want to fold in one of the handles, preferably this one. And once you do that, you can just combine them together. The 2 pieces on the back here lock in very nicely, and the 2 pieces down here also lock in very nicely. As you might expect, the combined twin buster rifles look very nice, and it looks ready to bust some bunkers. So this has been my look at the individual parts and weapons. Kind of a mixed bag so far. Stay tuned for the next part where I put this whole thing together.